I would like to now welcome Yvonne Neal to have her insight and information in this regard. Yvonne is an international social justice advocate, governance leader, and lay member of the Anglican Consultative Council, one of the four instruments of Communion of Anglican Communion. A founding member of the Episcopal Discourse of New York Task Force on Domestic Violence, Sexual Assault, and Task Force Against Human Trafficking. She has devoted decades of dismantling system of exploitation, gender-based violence, and economic injustice. At the United Nations, Yvonne represents Africa Development Interchange Network, an ECOSOC accredited NGO, and has held leadership roles on multiple NGO committees, including efforts to combat trafficking in person and modern slavery. She has organized and spoken at UN forums, global conferences, and international consultations, advancing civil society engagement around SDGs 5, 16, and 17. A retired financial consultant and current trustee of the George Spencer Group, she brings deep expertise in ethical governance and fiduciary leadership. Yvonne's work bridges faith, policy, and global advocacy to advance dignity, justice, and systematic transformation for women and girls worldwide. We are lucky to have Yvonne here and sharing information. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunitra. Good afternoon, dear friends. No society can claim justice while any group of women is treated as less than fully human. I am honored to join you today. And first, I want to thank my dear friend Vishnu for this invitation to me and to Africa Development Interchange Network, because we have been working together for many years.
Yeah.
And so I want to also thank all the organizers, Adwan, which of course is Vishnu's organization, Friends of Adwan Nepal, and the National Indigenous Women Forum for convening this important conversation during the 70th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. Today, we are asked to confront a difficult reality that millions of women and girls around the world continue to live under systems of discrimination that deny them dignity, opportunity, and justice. As we have heard, Dalit women and girls in Nepal experience multiple and intersecting layers of discrimination based on caste, gender, and poverty. Despite constitutional guarantees and legal protections, caste hierarchy continues to limit access to land, education, justice, and economic opportunity. Dalit women remain among the most marginalized in society and face disproportionate exposure to violence and exclusion. But the story we hear today from Nepal is not isolated. The struggle of Dalit women in Nepal is not an isolated injustice. It is part of a global pattern in which systems of hierarchy, whether caste, race, or colonialism, determine whose dignity is recognized and whose humanity is denied. Across the world, marginalized women confront similar systems of exclusion. Dalit women in India face caste-based violence and economic marginalizations rooted in century-old hierarchies. Yazidi women in Iraq survive genocidal violence and enslavement and continue to struggle for justice. Roma women in Europe face discrimination in education, employment, and healthcare. And women of African descent throughout the Americas, Europe, and the Caribbean continue to confront the enduring legacy of slavery, racism, and structural inequality. Different histories, different continents, different languages. but the same demand: dignity, justice, and the right to live without discrimination. But gender inequality rarely stands alone. It intersects with caste, race, ethnicity, class, religion, and geography. These overlapping systems create deep forms of structural injustice. Violence against marginalized women is not accidental. It is structural. It is sustained by social systems, institutions, and power structures that have yet to fully recognize their equal humanity. And in many parts of the world, these structures are rooted in history. And today, I speak from personal experience. I am a woman of African descent from Virgin Gorda, British Virgin Islands in the Caribbean. I also carry indigenous ancestry from the Caribbean people of that region. Our history reminds us that inequalities we see today did not emerge by chance. They are deeply shared by centuries of colonial systems that organized societies into hierarchies, ranking human beings according to race, caste, ethnicity, and power. Colonial rule did more than occupy land. Colonial systems reorganized societies in ways that continue to shape whose voices are heard and whose lives are valued. Now, I don't have time to get into today, but I have become a student of decolonization. Across continents, these legacies remain visible in patterns of poverty, land ownership, political representation, and access to justice. Women, especially women from marginalized communities, have carried the heaviest burdens of these systems. And yet, this is not only a story of injustice, it is also a story of extraordinary resilience. Dalit women in Nepal have organized, mobilized, and demanded their rights. Their history is not merely one of victimhood, but also one of resistance, leadership, and determination to live with dignity. Through grassroots organizing, education initiatives, and economic empowerment programs, Dalit women are transforming their communities. And we see similar resilience across the world. Indigenous women defending forests and ancestral lands. African women leading peace movements and democratic reforms. Yazidi women documenting atrocities and demanding justice. Black women leading global movements for racial justice and equality. Time and time again, marginalized women are not simply beneficiaries of change. They are architects of change. But meaningful transformation requires more than symbolic commitments. It requires economic systems that address inequality and poverty. Justice systems that protect survivors and hold perpetrators accountable. And that could be a full topic in itself. Mm-hmm. Education systems that affirm dignity rather than produce hierarchy. If we are serious about achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, then the world must also be serious about dismantling the systems, caste, racism, and colonial legacies that continue to exclude millions of women from dignity and opportunity. And development strategies must center the leadership of those most affected. As activists around the world remind us, nothing about us without us. The leadership of Dalit women must be central to efforts to eliminate caste-based discrimination and violence. Yet, even as we acknowledge the challenges before us, there's also reason for hope. because the communities that have historically been marginalized, Dalits, Indigenous people, people of African descent, and many others are not small or isolated. Those who have historically been marginalized are not a minority in the world. Together, we are the global majority. Across continents, our movements are increasingly connected. Women are organizing across borders. Communities are demanding accountability. And younger generations are refusing to accept inequality as inevitable. The work of organizations such as ADWAN reminds us that transformation begins at the grassroots. When women organize, educate girls, build economic opportunity, and demand justice. When women rise, communities rise. When communities rise, nations rise. So let me end with this reflection. Across the world, from the hills of Nepal to the Caribbean where I come from, women who were once pushed to the margins are stepping forward with courage, vision, and determination. We are reclaiming our voices, honoring our histories, and shaping a future where dignity is not reserved for a privileged few, but recognized as the birthright of every human being. And together, in solidarity across continents and cultures, we can build a world where no woman or girl is ever treated as untouchable, invisible, or expendable. Thank you.